Perfect. We're going to be talking about my favourite subject now, money, and what DTC founders actually need to know about finance. And to do that, I'm going to start with you, Nick.
So I'm Nick Cooling. I'm founder of a business called Praevo Partners. So we provide fractional CFO support and strategic advisory mainly to DTC brands.
My name's Ian Cruickshank. I'm the CFO of Triffin. We're a platform for consumer brands that provides flexible working capital funding, cash flow management, and payments.
Hi, I'm Grace Fodor, founder of Studio10, which is a makeup brand formulated for mature skin.
Love all the beauty brands today. It's been great having everyone. Ian, I'm going to start with you. So most DTC founders are great at building brands and terrible at financial planning. What is the mistake you see more than any other?
I think it was mentioned earlier by a couple of the past two parties is financial planning and building a financially strong business starts with the boring stuff, and doing that well is incredibly important. Having up-to-date books and someone who's on top of your finances on a day-to-day, week-to-week basis is really the building block of it. And while building a brand and a social profile and all of that are incredibly important for driving revenue, you have to do all of the tick box exercises and make sure all of your demand planning, your inventory planning, your operational planning are all tied together in one place where you can see it all, and make sure that you know what it's going to look like 12 weeks down the road and 12 months down the road.
Definitely. And Nick, I'm sure a lot of people in the room have accountants, but what does a fractional CFO actually do for an e-com brand that a good accountant does not?
Yeah, so we see a lot of DTC businesses that work particularly with practice-based accountants. Practice-based accountants obviously have the place, but they're very much focused backward in terms of statutory compliance and taxation. When you bring a fractional CFO into your business, they're more focused on the strategic view, what the future looks like, and how you plan and meet your strategic goals. I think where the brands that we work in, we act as critical friends to those founders. So we support them in decision making and really enable them realizing their talents as entrepreneurs. The other thing we can do is support in terms of network. So we've talked a lot about marketing, operations, funding. We will extend our network to the brands that we work with to facilitate their growth even further.
And Grace, so what do you wish you had understood about cash flow in year one that took you years to learn?
I think you guys have said everything that I would have said. Well, there's two things in terms of founder, doesn't matter what size or scale. And I can't remember who said earlier, they're a £30 million business and they don't understand the difference between cost of goods and cost of sale. And so there's all the financial information. And as a founder, really understanding a P&L at a granular level. But exactly what we said here, it's about looking forward. So, I get my end of month accounts, my P&L, you can go through it granularly, but that's not what you need when you're growing and you're scaling. So having real-time cash flow forecasting, which funny enough, we use Triffin. We were one of the early adopters. And it's a brilliant tool because instantly you can look forward and you can add in, all of your sensitivity. Stock planning for us is absolutely key. Again, someone else said, there's no point something going viral, you're out of stock. We have 6 to 9 month lead times. So we can't pump out our paid social, get a great NCAC, and then go out of stock. So those nuances are really important. So it's all about looking forward, stock planning, operations, back end, boring, but it's so important. And then the cash implication, because it costs money to grow and scale, and then you're in a funding process. Having done it last year is carnage.
Ian, CAC and LTV are the metrics everyone talks about. Where do brands get the maths wrong, and what does that actually cost them?
I think LTV on a lot of platforms is presented as your net revenue in the best case, and that's not quite the truth. The reality is that your lifetime value is the profit you've made from a customer. And so you have to be understanding your LTV at both a gross profit level and at a contribution level for your customers. And then you actually get the representation of what LTV to CAC is, which is your return on your investment. And I think taking a step back, that's an understanding that it's an important metric to understand when you're business planning and looking at opportunities and where you want to invest your money. But you actually have to look at what that does to your cash flow as well. You put money out the door daily, or monthly if you're putting your meta ads through payables on 30-day terms, or maybe it's going through a credit card, but that has a real cash impact at day zero. You might have had to have spent money 2 or 3 months down the road before that to get your inventory moving from China, or a process started with a supplier where you have short kind of trust relationship with, so you're building better payment terms. So you have to turn that LTV to CAC ratio into reality, which is when does that first pound go out the door? How long is it sitting out there? And when does it come back into your bank account with some friends?
Yeah, it's never just a number, is it? Nick, so where do you see D2C brands consistently leaving money on the table because they are not looking at the right financial data?
Yeah, so I suppose building on from what Ian's just referenced, retention and customer acquisition, customer lifetime value is always a key area, and particularly understanding that in the context of the kind of subcategory that you operate in e-commerce. So we work with a lot of subscription-based businesses. We work with some really successful subscription-based businesses, and we've enabled those businesses to scale even faster by understanding what their customer lifetime value is and how hard they can push customer acquisition. So we've got brands that are spending more than average order value on cost per acquisition on the first order, because they're making profit on the second order because they've got such sticky cohorts. Equally, in less sort of sticky subcategories like fashion, we see a lot of brands over investing in customer acquisition and not making money on first order, and losing a lot as well and getting themselves into liquidity issues. So we really getting under the skin of customer lifetime value and how that translates across your business, both from a marketing perspective, but also operationally, how you fund the working capital cycle and bring the stock in to be able to satisfy those customers is absolutely essential.
Definitely. And Grace, back to you. So revenue finance products like Shopify Capital, Wavefly, Uncapped are everywhere right now. When are they the right call and when are they a trap?
I've done all of them, actually, all three of them. I actually think they are a lifeline for D2C brands. And, the maximum we borrowed was 230,000. So it was a good chunk of money. Where you come unstuck, and it depends what type of business you are, is in the payment terms. So it wasn't so much the payment terms, it was the period. So it was sort of 6 months, and I wanted to dovetail, originally it was 3 months, and I wanted to dovetail it more into my stock purchases. And because we've got 6 to 9 month lead times. So with one particular one, they were throwing money at us because our retention metrics are off the scale. And then I knew we could, recover our customer acquisition cost just after the first order. But they wanted us to take all of it. And I said, I don't need that amount of money right here, right now. I want to phase it. We planned it all through Triffin, etc. They're not paying us to say this, by the way.
I can confirm.
So I managed to spread it over 3 months. But actually, the third month on the drawdown, our repayment was so big and so high. So they're the things that you need to think about. It's very easy to get the cash, but it's phasing the repayment when you're drawing down over a period of time. So I've done it and it worked really well, but it wasn't sustainable for a business like ours to invest in stock. Great if you've got the stock and you're scaling your marketing, but then you have to make huge investment into the stock. And also someone else said earlier, you don't want to carry lots and lots of stock because that ties up your cash. So that just in time, that's where that was the learning for me, definitely.
And in a perfect segue, Ian. So Triffin provides working capital funding alongside financial planning for consumer brands. How does that model work in practice, and what does it unlock for a brand that a traditional bank or loan provider cannot?
I think with Triffin, we've all from the beginning we've worked with consumer brands and understand the problems that you have in your life cycle, and I think that some of those revenue-based finance sources are really great for things like investing in marketing, or where you have a very short lead time on your products and you have a very short cash conversion cycle, and they're fantastic for that. But there's products out there called trade finance, and that's essentially what we provide to brands. And the reality is that they're really hard to unlock with a big bank. And we had in our early days, we were helping brands get funding, and a big bank trade finance line would take a year and a half to get set up with HSBC or something like that, and that's ages for most of the brands in this room. So we kind of understand the brand quickly. We get to know what your working capital profile looks like, and provide you the product that you need based on your lead times. And then that's why we say it's flexible, intelligent funding, because we can see sort of the sales data in your brand, and we understand your lead times based on who your suppliers are. So we provide the product that suits your business for when you need it. So you're not stuck paying back capital that you borrowed at a time when you're not ready to do so.
Amazing. It's they all work together, which is great. Nick, what financial red flag should make a founder stop and reassess before it becomes a crisis?
So I think if there's any sort of brands in the room that can't confidently see their next 6 months cash runway and understand that, then that's definitely a point to stop and think about how you get that kind of visibility. I think that if there's brands that don't, particularly brands that are scaling above 7 figures annually, that don't have full monthly management accounts, both P&L and balance sheet, that again is an area where founders need to stop and think at how they achieve that. I mean, we onboarded a brand not that long ago, successful brand, profitable brand, but they didn't have a balance sheet. And they had, if you've not got a balance sheet, you can't really get a full view of your working capital cycle. You don't know what you owe. You've got an idea of how much cash you've got in the bank because you've got a bank account, but you've not got a clear view of where your stock is. If you're being cash accounted, that's really risky. So I think having that right management information is really important. And if you are going to be successful and scale and grow and sort of realize your potential, and you do need funding from businesses like Triffin, you're going to need that management information to give them the confidence to be able to lend to you the amounts that you need, but also achieving that funding at a sensible level of interest as well. So we raised quite a lot of money with Triffin. We work a lot with Wayflyer. Brands are able to lend money at a lower interest rate if they have better financial information. So, when you invest in that level of visibility and that support, it actually pays back in itself through the debt funding, through the general advisory and network that you get from it.
And on that note, I have time for one quick fire round for everyone. So can you all give me one financial habit every founder should start this week?
Get a fractional FD, get a Triffin, get your finance. Any founder, I don't care if you're doing £10,000 per year, get that financial support, because it underpins your whole business today, tomorrow, going forward, and as you scale. And as a founder, understand accounting. Doesn't mean you need to become an accountant, but understand a balance sheet, a P&L. It's something someone who sold her business for millions and millions passed on to me, and that is my one piece of advice. So when you're talking to a fractional, FD, you've got some real understanding, and also the difference between financials and your growth model. So understanding your CAC, understanding your retention metrics, they're completely different to your classic accountancy. But again, that's where your growth, your scale, your profitability is going to come from. Your marketing budgets, everything, your overhead then feeds into your financial model. So we have quite sophisticated financial and then growth modeling to grow and scale.
Ian?
And it's not boring. I know it sounds boring, but it actually isn't boring.
Yeah, I agree, Grace. I would say, find someone. If you're not doing it yourself, make sure you have someone like Nick do your books on a weekly basis. It's probably the most basic level of hygiene for a business, but is so often underlooked. Know what you owe every single day of the week. Never leave a bank unreconciled. And I'd say the other one that is probably for me the biggest failure is in brands from finances is keeping track of your purchase orders. Don't have your purchase orders for today, tomorrow. Have your purchase orders set for the next
Put them
year.
all into Triffin. That's what we do.
Yeah.
We put all of our, and we
Big
actually do
logic.
sensitivity as well. So we put all of our purchase orders, but then what the purchase would be if we want to hit a top line number, it's all in there. And then you get a cash flow printout visually so quickly. So
Nick?
So I'd say get into the habit of having a weekly trading review, which covers sales performance, stock cover, and cash runway. And if you focus on that, you'll be clear on your business performance.
Amazing. I think a lot of people in the room are going to be studying their P&L after that one. Thank you guys so much.